so wonderful to be here this morning, and we also have Jensen and Gabriel O'Connor joining us. It's wonderful to have y'all here for your first Sunday. So we're going to start with our continuing influence.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Influence, yes. Yeah, October is here, right? It's all around us. We feel influenced. You know, I was thinking during this last song that I wish I could just take these three and, like, as I'm walking around in my life, just have them sing whenever I just need that little boost. You go, okay, yeah, I am loved, I am good, I am great. And, you know, sometimes we feel like it would just be nice if we could have these little cheerleaders in our life, someone to encourage and support us. Because there are a lot of influences in our life, right? A lot of things that tell us that we don't measure up. And, you know, I go on my Facebook feed and I go, oh, shoot, I missed this. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, look at what they're doing and what I'm not doing, right? There's a lot of people in our life, our coworkers, our jobs, that have these different influences in our life. You've got people that you'll meet that'll just tell you about all the problems in the world, right? And you're like, oh, I'm having a great day. And then here Mr. Gloom comes, right? And he wants to dump on you and let you know about how bad everything is. And you're like, oh, there goes my day. Oh, man, another day like that. So today, you know, I want to talk about looking at bringing that within ourselves, becoming a wellspring of joy ourselves, right? How do we cultivate happiness within ourselves? How do we find what God says about us, what God lives inside of us? How do we pull that out so that each day we can bring joy instead of just seeking it? Because most of the time, right, we're trying to invite good. How do we bring in goodness? There are good angels, there is good spirits, there are good people, there are good things we can bring into our life. And today is about becoming that antenna, that tuning force, that beacon that's calling that into our lives so we have it ourselves. Because many times it feels more like this, right? We're talking about happiness and we're looking, right? Oh, maybe it's this new book. Oh, I just read that book and it was so good. And we read that book and for the next week, we have all these positive ideas in our head. And then we forgot everything about the book. And we start over and we go, oh, look, there's a new podcast. Maybe that'll bring me happiness. You know, we jump into that for a minute and we're feeling good, we're feeling inspired. And we're always chasing, seeking, what are the answers that I have not yet found, right? What is it that would fill this void for me? This morning, I don't know if you saw it, but I showed a donut. And I talked about my holy donut because donuts are literally holy right there. They've got a hole right in the middle. I let the kids try and figure out why donuts were holy for a while. And then I showed it to them. And they go, oh, Dad. You know, but, you know, all this time, right, we're looking, how do we fill this void? You know, what is out there that will fill my heart? What is it that's going to bring me joy and happiness? And we're seeking outward. We're looking. Maybe it's over that hill. Maybe it's in that new book. Maybe it's in that new person. Maybe if I just add a little bit more, I'll finally find peace and joy. But when all the disciples came to Jesus and they say, you know, what is this kingdom you keep talking about? And it says, nor will people say, here it is or there it is, because the kingdom of God is in your midst. It's right within us. And all this time they were seeking for the right guru, the right Messiah, the right temple to worship in, the right offering to make. And he said, you know, you're wasting your time, you're spinning your wheels, and you're never going to get there. Because it's not a destination we're going to, but it's a cultivation of a heart, right? And when we cultivate that heart, when we find God within our hearts, when we start to develop ourselves so that we're fruitful, when we start listening to God's word and applying it in our life, when we start loving people as if they're all God's sons and daughters, suddenly we find out what we've been looking for all along was hiding right here the whole time. And that's what Jesus was saying. It's in your midst. It's right here. Now, besides looking for it, oftentimes we feel we have to chase it, we have to pursue it, we have to fight for happiness. And if I don't keep treading, if I don't keep running, whatever contentment I'm feeling right now is going to slip away, right? If I don't keep fighting, then that person that's around me that I've been looking for, or that job that's been fulfilling me, is going to escape me, and I'm going to wind up sad all over again. So we're pursuing happiness. We're pursuing that joy. We're pursuing that contentment. But it's a long race, and it never quite ends. Right? When we're chasing happiness, it's always just 3 steps ahead of us. It's always just beyond our grasp. It's because we aren't supposed to chase happiness, chase relationships, chase our spouse, chase our children. We're supposed to be in love, in the midst of it. And then suddenly we attract goodness into our life. Suddenly we start attracting that love. When we stop chasing someone in our life and doggedly pursuing them, asking them questions, trying to engage with them, and they're not ready for it, and instead we just be love, we just be joy, we just be happiness, we find that a lot of these walls come down and we attract goodness into our life. Father Moon said our attitude is an environment that must be prepared in order to receive spiritual help. So our attitude itself is an environment. It's a garden. It's a soil that can be cultivated. It can be changed. It can be maintained. We can declutter it, de-weed it, and create an environment, right? Our attitude is our choice. It's a decision of how we're going to live our life. And when we choose to start cultivating that place where happiness can grow, that soil that can be fertile, then we notice that spiritual help comes into our life. Things that we kept trying to chase after just start naturally blossoming, right? There's an adage that says healthy things grow, right? All healthy things grow. If we can create a healthy mind, a healthy body, a healthy home, a healthy environment, if we start treating things with this love and respect that they ought to have, then we're going to start noticing from within blossoming of new life, of new hope, of new opportunity. So we want to cultivate happiness. We want to cultivate a garden that implores happiness to come to us, brings in good angels, brings in good spirits, that maybe your great-grandpa is up in heaven and he's going, I want to figure out who I can help today. Oh, look, they're resonating joy and happiness. I want to jump in with them. The angels are looking around. Hey, how can we work in earth today? And we start cultivating that spirit, that environment. And they go, that's the one I'm going to get behind, because there, my offering is going to blossom and grow. It's going to multiply. That person's going to bring joy. They're going to bring hope. They're going to bring forgiveness. They're going to bring grace. And my efforts are going to multiply. God is looking where his seed will grow naturally. So we need to cultivate our attitude in order to implore or bring that happiness into us. Now, one speech that always I resonated from Father Moon was how to gain spiritual help. Right? It's a sermon he gave in 1978, and it talked about different things, the different attitudes that we can bring to the table that'll bring in joy and happiness to our life, bring goodness to our life, bring power and energy to the things we're trying to do. So we stop trying to fight for happiness, but we just go in the flow of God's Holy Spirit resonating with us, right? So one of the things he said, you know, how come a handkerchief of a holy person is considered holy? Right? If you think about it, a handkerchief is a pretty dirty object, or it can be, right? Especially during flu season, right? A handkerchief is not inherently a holy thing, right? You don't think about it. But if you had in your possession the handkerchief that Jesus Christ or Martin Luther or Father Moon or Martin Luther King Jr. was holding, right, at one point in your life, you might treasure that object. You might not even wash that object because you don't want to rub off any of that holiness, right? I remember one New Year's Eve, I was at a Guitar Center with my buddies, and I don't play music, but my friends did, and so I was hanging out with them. And as we're leaving, we run into Billy Joe from Green Day. And we're like, oh, cool, Billy Joe's here. And I ran up to him. I'm like, hey, can you sign my jacket? Because that's what I have. And so he comes over and he signs my jacket. And I felt like the coolest person in the world. And I went home and I went to school and I was wearing it all the time. Even when I was getting warm, I kept wearing it so I could show everybody this cool autograph that was right there emblazoned on my chest. But then one day my buddy borrowed my jacket, and I admit my jacket was dirty. It was really filthy. And so he washed it as a good friend, right? Cleaned it up and gave it back to me. He said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Hey, I borrowed your jacket, but I also washed it, so we're good, right?" And I looked at my jacket and it was gone. Oh, that joy, that happiness that I had was gone from that jacket. I don't know what happened to it from then. But you know, it's who touches something, what they invest into it that makes it holy or unholy, right? So he said, respect all things as holy. Respect all things as holy things. Respect all men as holy people. Respect yourself as a holy person. Respect your mind as holy, and respect your body as holy. He said, if you want to start garnering spiritual help, you want to start inviting goodness into your life, you want to start making a difference and follow the dreams that God's placed on your heart, you want to start making a difference in this world, start from here. Your attitude, how you treat things, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, how you treat your mind, and how you treat your body. Understanding their purpose. That God created these things to manifest goodness. He created these things to be a vehicle to share love, to make connections, to build relationships. And how do we treat them? Right? So he encouraged us, respect. So first off, I want to share about respecting all things. Oftentimes we look at all things and we go, oh, you know, it's just a thing. It's just an item, right? You pick up a pen and it can be an ordinary pen. It can cost 15 cents. You might have bought it in a pack of 50, right? And it might just be like every other pen. But what if I used that pen to write a note that encouraged my brother and shared love, and he picked up that letter and it gave him hope, it gave him inspiration, it gave him encouragement. He felt my love. Now that pen is no longer an ordinary pen. It was an instrument that brought joy and love into someone's life. What if that shirt you're wearing today, it felt like just another shirt? You just went in the closet, you grabbed the first shirt that your wife wouldn't get mad at you for wearing, and you threw it on and you walked out the door, right? But because you were dressed and clothed, and maybe it happened to have a sunshine printed on that shirt, right? And someone saw that sunshine today and they felt joy, and they felt that all that darkness washed away because they saw that sunshine, and they said, wow, I can move forward today, right? Now that shirt becomes a holy shirt, right? It's about what we're doing with the item. It's how we're treating the item that gives it its value. And so he was encouraging us, you know, yeah, you can go through life and just use things and throw them away, or you can use things and add value to them. Treat them as holy and watch all these things have a holy purpose. Your old 20-year-old car that's bringing you to your friends and family, that's helping you connect with people, can become a holy car. So don't discard it, right? Don't treat it like junk, but treat it with love. Treat your home with love and respect, realizing no matter how big or small it is, this is a place where conversations happen, where love is shared, where meals are consumed. This is a place that can be holy. This building itself could, in a year from now, become a dentist's office, or, you know, a recreational room, whatever. It could become whatever, but right now, it's a holy place. Why? Because we've ascribed that value to it. We've determined it to be holy, and suddenly it's a holy place. So if you want to start bringing goodness, bringing joy, bringing happiness into your life, you start treating the things, the physical things from God, as holy. You start treating your environment as holy. You start treating your yard as holy. And then people walk in, right? I remember always when you walked into Reiner and Barbara's home, it wasn't anything special or fancy, but it was clean and loved. And everybody walked in and was like, wow, I feel such a good spirit. And sometimes I'd be in there all the time, you know, and I'd go, oh, I mean, it's just an old couch, right? It's just, you know, but people would walk in and they'd feel the love, right? It's a matter of respect. It's a matter of how we treat all things. Creating a heavenly environment. Creating a holy space. Or, as God pointed out, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. This planet we're living on, our environment that we're put in, is not just a place to be used, but it's a place that God asked us as human beings to take care of these objects, to take care of these things, to cultivate and multiply goodness from them. To take those trees, and maybe grow a lot of them so we can build chairs to sit on, but then treat it with respect, treat it with love. Second, respect all men as holy. You want to be that wellspring of joy. You want to be that completion of happiness in your own life. Start treating all people as holy, right? That doesn't just mean the people that are sitting in this room because they agree with our religious views, but that includes the gas station attendant that looks a little tired and worn out. And imagine if you walked in there and said, "Hey, how are you doing? You look great today. Thank you so much for making this coffee for me. Wow, it's amazing," right? Imagine the energy you would send to that person. Imagine the change that would happen in their life. Right? When you're dealing with someone you're selling a product to, instead of just looking at them as a dollar sign, right? Oh, that's a potential sale. You treat them as holy, that this person is a person of God. You start treating them with respect and love. And you know what? Naturally, what will happen will be they say, "Hey, you're the one I want to do business with." But in the meantime, as you start treating them as holy, that won't even become the reason you're meeting anymore. You'll just say, "Wow, what kind of story does this guy have from God? What kind of experiences has this person had?" And you start listening to them and you start sharing life with a complete stranger. That waitress that is spending her time breaking her back to bring you food and does it with a smile, even though she might be really tired. She might be tired of your request. Right? You start treating her with love and respect, and you notice that this weight falls off of her. And maybe that little bit of kindness that you showed her allows her to release that stress, that strain on her, and go back home and spend a little more time with her kids, have a little more patience with her husband. And even that small interaction has just become a multiplication of love, that God's love has been used through you to convey his hope for someone else. Now they're bringing that love into their home. Your little actions of respect, of honor, each person as a holy person, can change all of your interactions. I notice one of my greatest blessings is I take my kids around places, and my kids are super cute, so when I go places, people treat me a lot better. It doesn't even matter what I do or say. They look at Morel and Kyler and they go, "Hey, we really like you. We're going to help you out." I go, "Wow, that's awesome. I didn't even do anything," right? But when you bring joy into people's lives, it changes their attitude. It brings about a good energy into your environment. Of course, the point isn't just about how do I have joy myself, but you realize that when you respect and bring joy and love to other people, that it naturally comes, right? You've created the garden. God's seed can be planted and it can grow. So respect all men as holy. 1 John 4:16 says, no one has seen God, right? No one has seen the literal God, right? But if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. So when we love one another, when we share that respect, that value to one another, suddenly God becomes a living embodiment. Suddenly God takes hold of this body and shares that joy, that word of inspiration, of encouragement that someone has been looking for. Suddenly I become a tool to bring the love that God has been trying to convey to his kids for too long. How many people would never set foot in a church? How many people never say a prayer, but in their own heart, in their inner self, they're longing for a relationship with God? Now, when you treat people with respect and value them as God's holy sons and daughters, you have now become the instrument that God can use to change an environment, just like that. So treat all people with respect. Respect yourself as holy. Sometimes this is a harder one, right? You can forgive other people because you don't see them in their worst situations. But if anybody saw you in your worst situation, I might not be worthy of respect, right? I can see that myself. Maybe you all see something different. And so it's hard sometimes to respect yourself, to honor yourself. I'm just, so I can sacrifice myself. I'll help you guys out because I'm really not doing anything in my life. Might as well help someone else do something good, right? Sometimes it's hard to respect ourselves, to honor ourselves. But in Psalms 139, 13, 14, it says, "For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb." This is him talking. "God, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works." My soul knows this very well. Wonderful are your works. This was God's creation. God created you, formed you in your mother's wombs. He knitted you together. He pulled all those parts together. And then when you came out, He breathed His life, His Spirit inside of you. God looked at you and go, "Wow, this is my good and loving and wonderful creation. I can't wait to see what they're going to do, what they're going to create in this world. I'm so excited that you were born." You are one of God's masterpieces, a one of a kind. But sometimes we don't treat ourselves like that. Sometimes we forget who God is and what God did in our life, that God created us Himself. And we start treating ourselves as worthless, as valueless. But God wants us to treat ourselves as holy people. Start honoring ourselves, taking care of ourselves, thinking about our needs sometimes as well. It's not selfish. Actually, God wants us to take care and treat ourselves as holy. Next, He says, "Respect your mind as holy." Father said that we need to renew our mind and let go of our resentments at the end of the day, because the mind is a place where God resides in our body. That God is speaking and thinking and feeling through us, right? And so we need to clear a space so God can come in. We need to renew our mind to not let all that garbage into our life, not let all those negative articles or those negative people just saturate and sit in there and occupy space, but kick it out and let goodness grow, right? We need to clean out that garden and take out all those weeds and those thorns that are tripping us up. When we go to bed, we need to forgive ourselves, renew our mind, take a breath, take some prayer time to clear this all out, so in our rest, God can plant a new seed for a new day. When we wake up in the morning, we greet God. So there's no room for something else to occupy. We've put God there first, and now God is growing in that garden. God is growing in our mind, and our joy becomes a living thing. So we take this step to clear our mind, respect your mind. You might think you're smart or not, right? You might think that you don't always have it together. You might think that you're broken and you're just not a clear thinker and whatever, right? You have all these doubts residing in your brain, in your mind, right? But you need to clear that out and start respecting it. This is God's mind. This is where God dwells. God is using me for a unique purpose. It might feel very unique and strange and weird, but God is using it so it's holy, okay? Right? God is using my mind, so it is a good place to be. So let's clear it up and start respecting it. Start thinking about the content we're putting into it, right? When you think of a holy offering table, right, you clean the fruits, right? You clean the offering. You prepare it. You prayerfully consider which ones you're picking and you're putting in. When you eat that food, you're feeling like good nutrients are going into your body. It's the same with your mind, right? What are you putting in there? Are you cleaning it? Are you keeping it clear? Are you training it? Are you developing your mind and your intellectual capacity? Are you reading books? Are you training yourself? And going, yeah, this is a valuable asset to my life. This is a muscle that needs to be trained, and I'm going to work it out. Paul said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Use your brain. Think about the choices you're about to make in life. Think about what you're going to say. Think about what you're going to do. Think about what you're going to invest in. Test the things that you feel like are coming from God so that you can discover what's good and perfect and true. Treat your mind as holy. Respect the ideas coming out of it and clean it up so that goodness can come out of it. And finally, respect your body as holy. This is the vehicle that God has created for you to convey love. This is the body that God gave you to live out love in this earth. This is the body that God gave you to go to work in, to change people's lives, to build new products, to help other people. This is your body, so start treating it as well as healthy. Think about how you're training it, getting good rest, getting good nutrients, getting good exercise, stretching out. Think about this as something you need to tune up and get an oil change for sometimes. Treat your body as holy because this is what God designed to convey hope and joy and love to this world in. Your body, your beautiful body, your beautiful smile, your eyes to look out with that joy, your voice to share happiness and joy and love with other people, right? Your ears to listen and to hear everybody else's thoughts and concerns, maybe their worries and doubts. This body is that vessel that can contain all this love and share it out with this world. So respect it as well as holy. Don't you know that you yourselves are the temples of God, and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? If anyone destroys God's temple, right? God will destroy that person, for God's temple is sacred, and you together are the temple. So each one of us is a physical embodiment of God's love here today. We are the things that bring hope and joy to our neighborhood. Our body is that people see, that reflect what God is doing in our lives. Before they hear our voice, before they read our thoughts, they're going to see us. And so we want to be able to go to them to express this love and this joy and this happiness that can change other people's lives. So we need to respect our own selves as holy. So in order to do this, we need to create conditions sometimes. We need to start slowly changing our lives and improving them. Sometimes, right, it's one thing to think a holy thought today, right? When you have the message in front of you, when you have this beautiful singing happening here and you feel encouraged. But what happens on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right? We need to start creating habits in our life that can bring more goodness and joy to us. So these foundations for God to work in us, these foundations for His love to live in us. So first, we should set conditions, right? We should set clear conditions in our life. Hey, I want this year, I want to become a better listener, because I realize that my wife has shared stuff to me and I said, and then 3 hours later she asked why I didn't do what I said to, right? I realized, I need to improve my listening ability. Maybe I need to be more patient with someone. Maybe, when they're sharing their burdens with me, I go, okay, well, get your act together and then move forward, smile more, whatever, right? And I realized, hey, I wasn't patient with that person. I didn't let them express it. We didn't heal. So be clear. What is it that you need to change in your life? What you want to improve? You want to cultivate? Maybe what do you want to weed out from your life, from your heart, from your mind? What resentments or angers or negative thoughts are you harboring? What doubts do you have about who God is and what He's trying to do in this world? What do you have to do in your workplace so that you can be more effective and create more change and bring positivity to this world? So be clear about what it is that you want to change, what it is that you want to see happen in your life. I want to be physically more healthy. I want to be spiritually more healthy. I want to have a better prayer life, that I actually want to do it and don't just force myself to do it before I go to bed. So be clear. What is it that you want to do? And set an intention. I want to do
this prayer, I want to start praying more because I want to more clearly be able to see what God is doing in my life. Or, I want to pray more because I want to be able to love my spouse better. Or I want to, I'm going to do this physical condition. I'm going to do 21 push-ups every day, right? Because I want to be healthy enough to hold my grandkids in 50 years, right? So I'm going to start exercising, right? Set an intention. Why am I doing X, Y, Z? Be clear about it. It's a waste of your time and God's time if you just, I'm going to do 21 minutes of prayer every day just because, right? And hope something happens. Maybe something will happen. Maybe you'll get lucky. But chances are nothing will happen. So be clear. What is your intention behind this condition? Set a timeline. Don't just let it linger forever. Set 21 days. Set 40 days. Set some kind of idea. Hey, I'm going to do this in my life. I'm going to start creating a more healthy home environment for 40 days. I'm going to focus every morning. I'm going to give 20 minutes to clean up something in the house. I'm going to do this for 40 days, and then at the end of the 40 days, I can look back and go, hey, did anything actually change? Did I improve? Was it too hard? Was I being too strict with myself? Can I push myself more? What kind of positive impact has that condition made in my life? So when you set a clear timeline, you can also take a time to look at the feedback, look at what impact happened. So be clear, what is it that I want to do? Maybe I'm going to extend it after that. Maybe I'm going to go, hey, it's pretty good, but I'm still weak in this area. So I'm going to do another, extend it, right? Just be clear about this so we can make incremental improvement, real improvement that really changes our life. And finally, proclaim it, right? Don't just, quietly go, oh yeah, I'm going to try and be a better person. But not be clear, you're not telling anybody because you don't want anybody to judge you. I remember when I started my business, when me and Linda started our business, we had talked about it for a while, but then we started just telling everybody. Started calling everybody, hey, in 3 months we're opening the doors for a business. Oh, do you have a place yet? No, but we're going to do it, right? And we threw it out there so then I would be embarrassed if I didn't actually do it, right? People would make me accountable. They'd say, hey, Jerry, what are you doing with your life, right? I thought you were doing X, Y, Z. You told me. So proclaim it, put it out there, let God know, let your family know, hey, you might notice I'm doing some things differently, I'm trying to improve my life. Then they can go, hey, wow, yeah, I'm noticing that difference. They can encourage you. Or they can go, hey, you told me that you were going to start changing this habit in your life, but you know what, I'm seeing you haven't done it for 7 days. What's going on, right? They can be accountable to you. But also maybe you can inspire them. Maybe they'll go, hey, wow, I noticed the difference that she's making in her life. I notice the improvements. I wish I could have that. You know what? Maybe I'll try what you tried. So we proclaim it. We allow God. We invite the spirit world to come into the midst of it. We go, hey, this is going to be hard. This is a new thing for me. God, I'm going to need you. I'm going to need spirit world. I'm going to need some support. Because I really value this. I value my life. I value my relationships. I value my things that you've blessed me with. So I'm going to start treating it with more respect. But God, I need you to come behind me and help me do this. So we proclaim it. These aren't just religious practices. These are things that can change our life from the inside out. So we treat all things as holy. We make that handkerchief holy, right? We make that pen holy. We make these shoes holy. These are the shoes I'm going to walk in. You can treat your workplace as holy and go, you know what, God, you allow me to build widgets that improve other people's lives. So when I get up in the morning to make this widget, I'm going to give my love to that widget. I'm going to just pray over that widget. I'm going to make it with joy and happiness so that when that person buys my widget, they're going to open it up and go, wow, this is a perfect fit. And it's changing my life. And you know what? When you put in that honest work, that good work of respecting the things you're making, the people, your coworkers, your boss, your customers, when you're respecting your neighbors by loving and investing in your work, right? You start noticing a change in that environment. And then you know what? You also get paid. And you go, hey, this money is not just random money, but I'm going to treat it as holy. I'm going to think about where each dollar goes. I'm going to think about how this thing can turn into more than just a thing, but it can be a blessing to someone else's life. That when I work hard, when I create this investment, that I can give it out to the world and it's going to change things for the better. My life is going to impact others for the better. My existence is going to be an improvement on this world. And so, brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you to start looking at yourself as a holy object of God. Start looking at the resources God has placed in your life and go, this is a holy thing that can bring goodness and joy and happiness to those around me. And when I start respecting my family as holy, my children's little nuisances as holy, when I start treating my spouse as holy, I'm going to create an environment that's going to attract goodness, that God's going to say, this is where I want to plant myself. This is what I want to bless. This is what I want to cultivate. And we can see that transformation that we've been looking for in this world. So brothers and sisters, I want you to have your best life. Please read the speech. Go over these words. Let this sit in your heart and your mind and think about what it can do for you, your family, and the world around you. Let's respect all things as holy. Please join me in prayer.